Hey guys, thank you everybody for coming today. We're so excited to have Mo Anderson with us. She's going to be going through some questions and talking about, what some of her thoughts are in the market and some ways to help inspire you guys. Mo is a pillar in our company. She is, one of the people who came in here and gave us this opportunity to have such a great experience with inside Keller Williams. So, thank you for coming today, Mo. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was Gary Keller's first CEO. He served as CEO in the early days. And then when he was totally worn out, he really almost hurt his health by working so hard and trying to do everything by himself. Then he asked if I would be willing to come aboard. So I'm the one that did the hard part. All these CEOs that have followed me had it easy compared to what I had. When I came aboard to run the company, there were 1,800 agents. There were 45 market centers, and I closed 15 of them because they weren't, producing. And there were, I brought it down to 30, and out of the 30 market centers that were left, I had 17 team leaders dehired. And then I foreclosed on 5 regions, and I became known as the Wicked Witch of the West, or whatever it is. And then, I set standards, and we got the ship turned around and headed in the right direction. So it was interesting times back then.
Now, I mean, how did Gary find you? Like, how did he contact you? Like, what did you do for like the interview at that opportunity? And that had to be an exciting moment.
Well, that is a great question, and I'm going to tell it as fast as I can, so bear with me. In the late 80s, I was living in Oklahoma City, and the oil business crashed because OPEC in the Mideast controlled the price of oil. And in the process of that industry crashing, our economy went down just like it has during COVID, except the government didn't shut it down. It was the price of oil that caused it to go down, because Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, all those states are a part of the oil patch. And so I just grew up watching that industry, boom and bust. And so we lost all of the money we had, the real estate company we owned. It was like a faucet turned off. It was really bad. And I would tell all my friends, I would say, look, yes, we've lost everything. We didn't lose our home, but we almost did. And I would say, we're going to build back, and it's going to be better than ever. It's going to be better than before. And all my friends would look at me, roll their eyes, and go, she's an idiot, They would tell me that, Mo, you're crazy. You're not going to build back after this horrible collapse of the economy. And I just kept saying it. And that's the difference between me and a whole lot of other people. I keep saying it. And after about the 2000th time I said it, I woke up one morning and I looked at my husband and I said, we really are going to build back. He rolled his eyes and he said, how are we going to do it? I said, I don't know. But it's going to happen. I feel it in my heart. I feel it in my soul. I feel it in my bones. It will happen. 2 weeks to the day is when Gary Keller called me. I had never heard of Gary Keller. I didn't know there was a Keller Williams, because at the time he called me, he had 7 market centers, 2 in Texas and 2 or 3 in Dallas, and a couple of them in Houston. That was it. And he struck up a relationship with me. He called me 3 times a week at least. And he talked about the business, the history of the business, the future of the business. He talked very little about Keller Williams. He told me about the birth of John and how they weren't getting any sleep and, you know, all that. He told me about his guitar. He was building a relationship like you do when you recruit people. And then about 2 months later, 2 or 3 months later, this was in 1991, if I remember right. He called one day and he said, "Would you consider throwing your hat in the ring?" And I said, "Throw my hat in the ring for what?" And he said, "To become the CEO of Keller Williams." And to make a long story short, I first told him no, and then my husband encouraged me to at least go through the process and look at it. And then I moved to Austin. Well, first I opened the Oklahoma region. That's the first thing I did because it was the first region to open outside of Texas. And then 3 years later is when he actually asked me to move to Austin and help him build it across the US. And the rest is history.
That's so exciting. So like when you were running your real estate, or your business, or even launching these offices, um, what are some of the stories that you can share with us about like how you weathered the storm of the changing markets? I mean, we had '08. I mean, we obviously had the other times. Like, what are some of the stories that you have that you think would be really important for our agents to hear and compare it to like what we're experiencing now?
Well, let me give you an example. During COVID, I had an agent from Michigan call me, and he was really one of our top agents. And he was so discouraged. I mean, talk about discouragement. It was huge because that state was really closed. And he had a family to support, and he had a history of doing really well. And I could tell that his mindset was really off. You know, he was discouraged. He felt defeated. He didn't think that he'd ever get another listing. You know how it goes when something like COVID hits, and the fear we have and the discouragement we have. So I talked to him about the 4 truths about mindset that I had learned the first time Gary Keller ever taught Quantum Leap. And they've taken it out of the books, and I want them to put it back in because it changed my life. And so I taught him the 4 truths about mindset. And when we finished, he said, "Well, okay, Mo, I'm going to change my mindset. And I think I'm going to set a goal to get 10 listings in 1 week." And I'm going, 10? Oh my goodness, that's probably too many. He probably can't do that. But I didn't say anything to him. I said, "Wonderful, honey, you go for it." So at the end of that week, he had actually gotten 11.
That's
He
awesome.
never saw 1 house. He called people, told them there was never a better time in the history of real estate to buy or sell than it is now. And if they had the cash, why not move up? If they didn't have the cash, if COVID was hurting them financially, he could help them move down. And it was through command, because he really knew command. And it was through virtual tours. and he had 11 listings in his inventory, and he hadn't seen one of them. He did the whole thing using technology. I'm just so proud of him. I hardly know what to do. So number one is mindset. Number two is you got to know our technology. And to survive a shift, or to survive all that you're dealing with now, because you're dealing with COVID, you're dealing with a huge depression in our country and people out of work. You're dealing with racial issues. You're dealing with protests, which we're proud of in America, that we have a method of protesting, and we want people to protest the American way. Then you've got anarchists who come in and burn stuff and shoot people and do all of the bad stuff. So you have a whole bunch of pressure on you. And see, he was feeling all of that pressure. And then he changed his mind and he changed his circumstances. And I want to call him back and find out how many of those 11 listings that he got that 1 week have sold, because I'll bet you money all of them have, because we're short on inventory.
Yes. That's almost like if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right?
That's one of the truths about mindset, darling. You got it. And you know, he's not a couch sitter. See, he was willing to get off the couch and go make the calls. And when he called everybody in his sphere of influence, and of course he loved on them first, and then he told them about business. And at the end of that week, he had hit almost all of the people in his sphere of influence, and he ended up with 11 listings. So it's amazing what happens when you have the right mindset and you get off the couch.
So, I mean, when we're talking about mindset, it's so, it's so important, right? That's how we kind of keep ourselves motivated. I mean, what do you think is one way that, as a market center, or even with, keeping our clients engaged, with the agents, like what is the best way for us to keep up the engagement and excitement for everybody?
Well, I believe it's an issue of accountability. And when you have your market center Zoom calls, the team or whoever facilitates them, the team leader usually, it's so important to know who's off the couch and working their little rears off. It's so important to know who those agents are, so that on the call, it's recognition and it's praise and it's joyful celebration of what they did. When you have the black cloud of all of this stuff hanging over your head, and that gets people excited. And then when you maybe have held a couch sitter accountable to get off the couch and go call, and then you can talk about how someone really realized this week to go to the phone and make the calls, and then you brag on them. So I think it's mindset, it's recognition, and because people feel good about themselves when they do stuff. And when you recognize them and you just brag on them, then that lets other people in your market center or a visiting market center say, you know what, I'm going to call him or her and find out what was it inside that made him just get so busy. Well, they'll discover it's because they called their sphere of influence and said interest rates are the lowest they've ever been. If you plan to do anything, if you plan to buy a rental for your little grandbaby that's 2 years old, do it now. It's really that. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. I mean, it does. I mean, we just want to keep our agents motivated, just know what, you thought would help us, in that path. So as we're telling these agents and everybody to reach out to their sphere of influence, to work their farm and, to dig into their communities, we've kind of, I don't want to say we've gotten over that care period where we were just being more caring to our communities. What do you think would be, or what advice would you give the agents to be able to connect with these farms or these communities without, staying in between those lines still?
Well, let's talk about the farms first. Like maybe a lead generation farm is a geographical area wherever you live. And now it's time, if you've loved on them, if you've called them and said, what can I bring and leave on your front porch that you need? You've done that, and you've let them know you're thinking about them and so on and so forth. Then it's time to move into business. Now, let me tell you what some of the agents have done over the country. I'm so proud of them. We have people who are doing business far greater than they did before COVID. But it's the ones who have the get up and go. One market center did this. Oh no, that's community. I'll tell you that in a minute. So for their neighborhood, they called everybody in that geographical area and talked to them about, do you know anybody that might need to refinance their home? Now, really, this is just another service. And the first call that this one agent made, she said, yes, my nephew needs to refinance because his wife lost her job in COVID. And then the second person, she said, is my neighbor down the street. We were talking last night, and they're really having financial troubles and they need to get some cash out. So he referred them to Keller Mortgage. Then the next call, and that was taken care of. And then the next call he made was he told everybody that he had a really neat little 3-bed, 2-bath listing. And did they know of any grandparents who would buy a rental property, just one, and then keep it and then sell it when the child went to college and put the money in the college fund? Do you know that so far in COVID, he has sold 40 houses like that?
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
See, and this first person he called, she said, well, yeah, I want you to call my parents and I want you to call my husband's parents. Because they had small children. So all he did was explain about the low interest rates, how having a really sharp home wouldn't require that many repairs, and how they could put the money in the college fund. So it's doing things like that. I know another girl who has sold a bunch of properties. She targeted elderly people. Well, let me tell you what, COVID has kind of made elderly people who are maybe struggling with health issues realize that maybe they ought to consider an assisted living center. She has listed, I don't know how many houses, because she targeted elderly people, and she had information on some of the centers. So do you get my point of how you can find a niche that will work? I don't know what the niche would be in Princeton, but there are several niches. I've only given you examples of 2.
Yeah, yeah. There are several niches. I mean, I think what you're saying is we have to look at the situation and look what problems it's creating for our community and connect those pieces to figure out what is the solution for my community and my people.
Now, connecting with the community, I love this story. A market center decided to hook up with a restaurant that had been closed. and it was their favorite restaurant. The agents voted on a Zoom call, and it was whatever restaurant that was closed they all liked. So they talked the owner into opening the drive-through. And then they called everybody in their sphere of influence who lived in that general area and encouraged them, you know, we know you're tired of cooking. Why don't you get out of the house? We've arranged for Tom at whatever restaurant it is to open his drive-through. He's got some great stuff for you. And you cannot imagine how many people went to that restaurant. And the owner was shocked because here would be this long line of cars every night.
Yeah.
And so, see, they connected with their community, but they helped a business.
Right. So there we are. We're helping our community and the people that are in our businesses, our small business owners, and it comes back to us. I mean, that's great. I love that story. I think that is super important.
People in that community told their neighbors, and now that Keller Williams is a big shot in the community because everybody was touched by what they did to connect to the community and help businesses. And they did it even with other businesses. They got some drugstores to do special deals, and so they even took it further.
Yeah, and we can do that through some of our KW technology, doing the insights and starting letting our people know, hey, look at my app. These are the places that, you know, are great. So we can dig in there. What would you think, like, you know, if we're talking to our agents about, you know, investment opportunities, you know, with where we are now, what are your thoughts on that?
I tell real estate agents that it's important for them to develop at least 10 sources of passive income.
Okay.
And one of the first sources, now it may take several years to develop that many, but that many sources of investment passive income. I hope that's Federal Express. Can you hear my doorbell?
Yes.
I'm not going to answer it. But here are the two that I tell them to start with. Start with rental houses because you're an agent. You see on Multilist what's available. You have access to it first, and get a portfolio of rental houses built, not built, but purchased, and make sure they cash flow so that you can build up a reserve of cash. When I lived in Austin, I had a guy and his wife who took care of us. You know, they did the handyman stuff and they picked up my laundry and all that. And when we built our home in Oklahoma City, because our grandkids and our kids are here, he moved his family up here. And the deal I made with him to entice him to move here to take care of us here in Oklahoma City, I still go to Austin. We still have a home in Austin, of course. But was for me to finance his rental properties because he had a desire to build a portfolio of properties. He followed the real estate investor book. I think it's the blue book. He followed it to a T. He took a geographical area, and every one of his rent houses are in that area. It's real close to his house. And he has 7 of them. He's been here 10 years. He has 7 rental properties. He has 4 of them paid for. Isn't that incredible?
That's great.
And now he's working to pay off the others. So he's got great cash flow. I keep telling him, you got to get them all paid off before I die, you know, because he'll be out of a job, you know, when we're 83 years old. I don't know how much longer I'm going to live. And so we want him to pay those off so that they have a good stream of income when we're gone. The second source of passive income that's like an investment is profit share. Profit share is probably the greatest gift this company has. And some people get it and some people take advantage of it. So let me play with you for just a minute. And if you're not muted, I think you're all, are they all muted, Tiffany?
I think everybody is muted.
Well, can they unmute themselves real fast?
Sure, we can unmute everybody.
Okay, let's say that $40,000 was placed into your bank account automatically every night on the 21st of the month, and it was profit share. Let's just pretend for a minute that you would get $40,000 in a year. What would you do with that money? Somebody tell me real fast.
Invest.
You'd invest maybe in a rental property. Would that be a blessing to your family?
Yes.
Of course it would, because it means you would have more assets and you might have a little extra cash flow. What else would you do with it? Come on, answer fast.
Vacation.
Vacationing.
Maybe you take them on a fancy, beautiful, wonderful vacation. All right, would that be a blessing to your family? Okay, give me two more.
College.
College fund, would that be a blessing to your family? Now, every single thing you tell me, if we had time for all of you to tell me, would actually be a blessing to your family. Now let me ask you a question. Why did Gary Keller create profit share? So it would be a
Blessing.
blessing to your family. Now, Tiffany's the team leader, and she has a choice. She has a choice to build this Princeton Market Center through you, which means you refer people to her. Or if you won't refer people to her, you give her no choice. She has to build around you so you don't get profit share. But the point is this. It doesn't matter whether you do or don't. Tiffany's going to go after the people because her operating partner is going to absolutely hold her accountable to go get the people. The point is this. Profit share has nothing to do with the market center. Yes, it indirectly does. If you recruit someone, it helps the profit grow. We know that it helps the market center in that sense, but otherwise it has nothing to do with the market center. So many agents in our company think, oh, I've got to refer to Tiffany because she's got to hit her numbers. Well, I got news for you. She'll hit her numbers with you or without you. That's her job. That's what she's paid to do. Now, it might as well be with you because if it is, then you can bless your family.
That's what we want them to do, right?
Right. We want you to bless your family. Now, let me tell you a story. About 3 years ago, in 1 week, we had 2 Keller Williams agents die. One of them was in Atlanta, and he died unexpectedly. And he had about $70,000 a year in profit share. And when he died, his family inherited that. I don't know what his wife and 2 children would have done if he hadn't had that profit share coming in. The same week, an agent in one of the market centers I own died unexpectedly. He was also married with 2 children, and he had 0 profit share. The team leader had tried for years to get him to get interested in profit shares so that it could benefit his family, but he just always refused it. Well, his wife and 2 children struggled like crazy after he died. Do you get the point?
Yeah.
It's big time important. And all in the world you have to do to refer to her, it's so easy that people miss it. When you have a deal with someone, if you really like them, just tell them, you know what? You're awesome. We did this deal together and you jumped through hoops to help make it close. I really appreciate working with you. And I've told my team leader, Tiffany, about you, and she said she's going to call you. Now, I don't want to disappoint you, but it's not to recruit you. It's to thank you for the way you do business. She has a gift for you just because I bragged on you. So as a favor to me, will you take Tiffany's call when she comes? That's it. That's all you have to do.
It's easy, right?
It is so easy. And then see, she meets with them for 5 minutes the first meeting, and all in the world she does is give them one of the books. And she'll know them well enough to know whether she should give them Shift or if she should give them the rental millionaire real estate investor, or if she should give them the MREA book, the red book, or if she should give them my book, because my book's more about the culture of the company. So she'll know which book to give them. Then she has established a relationship, and then she'll do just like Gary Keller did with me. She'll start calling them, and then she'll eventually invite them to a class. But boy, it has to be a good one. And it has to have a great instructor. And she'll say, I want you to come to this class. And they'll come and they'll be blown away by the class. They'll go back to her and say, Tiffany, thank you so much for inviting me to this class because I've learned so much. And this is where Tiffany shines. She says, you know what? I want to have a conversation with you for at least an hour and a half about your business. I don't want to talk about Keller Williams. I want to talk about your business. And then she'll use a technique that she's learned called Tiffany Needs Analysis.
Needs analysis.
How good are you, Tiffany, at needs analysis on a scale of 1 to 10?
You know, I stay about a 7 because there's always room for improvement and perfecting.
Who's your coach?
Right now, I'm actually the productivity coach. Our team leader is Frank Homer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were the team leader. I got you mixed up. Well, anyway, whoever your coach is, tell them you want to become a 10 on needs analysis, because a 10 gets almost all of them.
Okay.
And we have so many tools in the toolbox at Keller Williams that you have to learn how to zero in on their need. So tell the team leader I said he or she should have been on the call.
I think he's here somewhere.
Okay, so that's how you do it. Now, what you do is you bless your family. I have a brand new agent that I recruited in the middle of COVID, and she's brand new, and she's in the Edmond, Oklahoma office. And last month, I mean, she's only been in the business less than a year, and last month her profit share was $1,000. She gets it. She can't wait for her profit share to be $5,000 a month. I mean, that's her first goal. Then she wants it to be $10,000 a month, and she's got it all planned out. And she is blessing her family. She took that $1,000 and she took them all out to dinner. She explained profit sharing to them and told them to recruit for her and bring the people to her. Now she's got her sons recruiting for her. It's
That's
amazing
crazy.
what's happening in that family. It's so exciting. 1 month she got 3,000.
Wow, that's awesome.
And
That is
she-
so nice to be able to give that to your family as a gift.
So I recommend for your investments, to begin your investments, build a few rental properties, try to get them paid for over the years, and then get really serious about your profit share. And then you can branch out into other things like investing in stocks. I don't ever invest in stocks because every time I have, I've lost money. And so I stick to more real estate projects. You know, I've invested in a REIT, a real estate investment trust, you know, and things like that. We have some developments that my husband's developing, and I kind of stick to what I know. And that's what I recommend you do.
Awesome. Now, I know while we're trying to do all these things, a lot of agents have been dealing with the struggles of family and work-life balance, and just, you know, now we have the kids home from school. You know, some schools are starting back up next week. And, you know, what is some of your advice do you have for the people who are trying to transition and balance, you know, the family and the work?
Well, I'll tell you, these young mothers who have to teach children because the schools aren't open, oh, my heart goes out to them. That just must be overwhelming. Just when they haven't been trained as a teacher to have to, oh my. I just want to love on all of you who are having to do that right now. But the one thing you've learned in Keller Williams that can help you is time blocking. Talk about needing to have initiative and needing discipline. These moms have got to have that.
Yeah.
So you block your time. You know, you get the kids up, they have their breakfast, and they go to school at home. And you're going to teach them until 11 o'clock, or I don't know. And make sure you have a good source of materials to use for that teaching, and I don't know what they are. I haven't done any research in that. And then you've got to block your time, you know, for cooking, because the restaurants are closed, for heaven's sakes, and you get tired of carry out all the time. And so, you know, get your recipe box out and find those quick casseroles you can put together really fast. And then you've got to block that afternoon then for your lead generation. And then when the kids get in a fight and you have to go settle that, oh, I just don't know how you do it. I just don't know how you do it. That time blocking is your only answer, and you have to stick to that schedule and talk your husband into being a real partner to you through this, where maybe they teach a class and it frees up your morning for you to be back in a room making your calls or doing whatever you have to do, showing property if you can, and all of that. That would be my advice.
Nice. Thank you, Mo. Now we have the, you know, the diversity and the inclusivity within KW. There are agents who may either, you know, disagree that this is an issue or are against reform altogether. How do you think diversity and inclusivity training should be incorporated in the KW culture to bring awareness to KW agents?
That is a great question. And it's a really, really sensitive time. It seems like the George Floyd issue just really set everything off. And I have just worried so much about our people, our Black people, because I want them to know that they're loved and that we care, and we're sad for whatever they have gone through.
Yeah.
So having teaching in your market center, I would wait and not even teach until the head task force, Kimber and John Clyde, because they're doing research on a lot of that, and oh, they're working hard. My goodness, it's like they've taken on a new job. And then they'll be able to tell you what course to use or who to have, and you'll be doing it under the guidance of someone who's really done the research. So don't worry. What I would encourage you to do until they know what that looks like, I would just encourage you to just talk about loving each other and having each other's backs. Doesn't matter if they're white or they're Black or they're Asian or they're Hispanic or they're light brown or they're dark brown or they're Indian, American Indian or India Indian. I mean, it doesn't matter. Just begin to talk about how if we would just really love each other and have each other's backs, so that when we see somebody that's down, we pat them on the back and say, I get down too from time to time. How can I help you? How can I encourage you? And if they don't really tell you how you can help them or encourage them, take them over a pot of soup some evening. Just do some little bitty act of kindness to each other in the market center. And if what I did when the George Floyd thing happened, I called all my Black friends, because I've got a lot of Black friends. And I said, I want to know what you think. I want to know how you feel. And I want you to tell me what I need to do to help this situation. And I want you to be brutally honest with me. And they were. And they were wonderful. And even they had some differences of opinion. And so this is the time when we want to really engage our Black agents and say, tell me what you're feeling, tell me what you think, and then shut up and listen. Just listen, and then give yourself time to think about what they said. And then the next day, go put your arm around them and say, I just thank you so much for really communicating to me. Here are the 3 things I learned.
That's great.
And then see, when you begin that kind of a dialogue, you'll grow closer, you'll bond, and you'll be loving each other in a way that is so wonderful and helpful. I hope that helps, because you have to be very careful what you say. On a Zoom call, somebody asked me what I thought about the riots, that were happening. And I said, my favorite form of art is sculptures. I have sculptures in my backyard. Richard and I have given gifts to our different towns, Austin and Oklahoma City, and we've given sculptures. We really love that form of art. And I made the comment, I said, when I was a little kid, I loved to read about George Washington. I just loved George Washington. And well, he was a slave owner, but I loved him anyway. And I read books about him. And I said, I hear that they plan to tear down George Washington's sculpture in DC, and I'm heartbroken. I don't want it to be torn apart and torn down. And then I made the comment that I loved Abraham Lincoln, and they were trying to tear that one down, the anarchists were. I don't think it was the protesters, I think it was the anarchists. And I got in all sorts of trouble with a couple of our agents because they were very uncomfortable with what I said. So I just know that when things happen, often the pendulum will swing one way and it swings too far. And then it swings the other way and it's too far. And finally the pendulum will hang down, you know, where 6 o'clock is, and it won't be swinging so far. It'll just swing a regular pendulum swing. So I just think it's so important right now that we engage any Black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, agents who might be good in real estate. Because nobody in the world knows, there's no one more in love with diversity than me. I tell you every year at the convention, at the Inspirational Breakfast, I start out with the prayers of the faiths. You know, the Muslim prayer, the Hindu prayer, the Buddhist prayer, whatever, the Jewish prayer, you know, we have them all. And they're different colored people. They're from different nations. And I've dreamed of having a company of diverse people. But let me tell you what, the two pieces of our culture that are so important is the Y4C2Ts, because that's the predetermined way that we've agreed to treat each other. And the other one is God and family first and your business second. And we all know what that means is whatever your faith is, whatever it is, put it and your family first and the business second. Now, I used to go to Yale all the time, you know, when they did the Keller Williams case study, because the MBA students wanted to ask me questions. And every year I knew what the first question would be. And it would be, doesn't that God and family stuff hurt you? And I would smile and I would say, I'm so glad a farm girl from Oklahoma can teach you something. You get out your pencils and papers and write this sucker down. And here's what I would say. God and family and business and the Y4C2Ts, because they would question it, serve as magnets. And you know, a magnet attracts stuff to it. They serve as magnets for our company so that we can get like-minded people. It doesn't mean we're all the same religion. Heavens no, we have everything in our company. It doesn't mean we're the same color. No, we have every color in our company. It doesn't mean we're from the same country. No, we have 40 countries in our company. But let me tell you what, MBA students, when you get like-minded people who are very diverse, who buy into your purpose, and our purpose in Keller Williams is careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving. When they buy into that and we march toward our goal, we have power that no other company in the world has.
That's right.
You want to know why we're doing good in COVID? Because we have a diverse company who are like-minded. Yeah, occasionally we'll have our disagreements, but we work through it every time.
That's
We
right.
just need a little bit of time on the racial thing, and the pendulum will be back at 6 o'clock. So don't worry about that. If somebody has an idea or something that's real different from yours, you just listen. And then you go back to them the next day and you say, you know what? I really appreciate you opening up to me. I learned 3 things or 2 things, or I learned 1 thing, whatever, because there will be something you will learn.
Yeah.
And stay away from, well, I don't agree with that. You can talk about it a little bit later. Later, you can say, you know, I want to hear more about what you said because I have a little bit different perspective. And then the pendulum's back at 6 o'clock and you'll be able to have that conversation.
That's great.
I hope that's helpful to all of you, because I sure, you know, didn't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, and what I said about sculptures and tearing them down and painting on them and, you know, treating them bad. I just, you know, I just did it and didn't know that I would hurt anyone. And so I'm trying to be more careful. I hope I haven't said anything to offend you all.
We love you, Mo. We think you're such an inspiration to us in the company. And, you know, we appreciate your book, The Joy-Filled Life. I mean, I've read it a few times and I absolutely love it. I want to give everybody a minute or two. I don't know if anybody has any questions they want to
Oh,
ask.
I hope you do. Please tell me you have questions.
Yes, hi, Mo. I have a question. I'm going to speak quickly because I have some renovations going on and they just took a break. You said there are 4 mindset truths, but I don't know what they are.
Well, one of them is change your mind and your circumstances will change. Tiffany, say it again. You said it better than I said it.
You change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. And that's a bold law.
Yeah, it's a bold law. And I've never really memorized it, so I couldn't say it good like you can. But it's just like this agent in Michigan. He told me he wouldn't ever get another listing. And then after I told him the 4 truths, then he changed his mind about it. Okay, another truth is when you believe something is really true, when you really believe it, it will create adrenaline in your body, energy in your body, and it will draw you to the things that will make it come true. And I think I've had so many Zoom calls today, I can't remember what I've said to who, but I think I told you about how we lost, didn't I tell you at the beginning about how we lost our money? And Gary called me 2 weeks later. See, it was when I said that enough times that it became true to me. And I really believed it with every cell in my body. And then here I get this call from a guy I didn't even know existed 2 weeks later. So that's a truth. The difference between, like I said before, between me and a lot of you is that I'm willing to keep saying it until it becomes true in my head.
Awesome.
And other people will say it 10 times and they'll go, that didn't work. Well, no, it didn't work because you didn't say it enough for it to become true in your heart and your head.
That's right.
And that is a truth about mindset. For example, at the beginning of COVID, I was scared to death. For 4 days, I was scared. Let me tell you what I was scared about. See, I'm Gary's partner. I own a little chunk of Keller Williams International. And I thought, oh my goodness, have I saved enough money that I'll have the money to do a cash call if Gary calls for one? That, do you know what a cash call is? It's where you have to put more money in the company because the revenues have gone down. And I knew the revenues would go down. And on our East Coast offices, our West Coast offices, on the ones that were truly closed, our revenue went down 95%.
Yikes.
We had to reduce the budget at international almost 50%. And I started worrying about when you own a piece of a national company, I knew I had to kick that fear out. So here's what I did. All day long that day, I quoted a Bible verse I learned as a kid that I hadn't forgotten. And it says, "For God has not given you a spirit of fear." Well, let me tell you, folks, I had one, so somebody gave it to me. Who do you think it was? I bet you could guess. The bad guy. For God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power. That means confidence. That means confidence to get off the couch and go make the calls. He gives you a spirit of power, of love, we all know what that is, and of a sound mind, which is mindset. And I said it over and over. I bet I said it, 700 times that day. And the fear dissipated. It just went away.
That's awesome. Now, I just wanted, before we wrap up here, because we only have three minutes left with you. So,
you know what? I don't have anything next on the next hour. So we can go 4 minutes or 5 minutes instead of 3.
awesome. I love it.
Awesome. That's great.
So a question that we had that was out there says, what do you have planned for the inspirational breakfast at Mega Camp? Is there anything that we can look forward to?
It's the cultural summit.
Oh, Cultural Summit.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. The inspirational breakfast, the inspirational morning is that family reunion. And we've done one, and we tried to do our best doing it virtually, and it's ready to go. So we'll see. I've never done this before virtually. So the team has been really great, to help me. So I think you'll like it. And we made it short. We made it 40 minutes so that when you watch it, it doesn't drag on for 3 hours. So tell me what you think and tell me what I could have done better.
Okay, we can do that. Now, what do you think is the most underutilized resource that Keller Williams has?
Profit share.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I don't know if anybody else has any other questions you guys can drop.
Please ask me something.
I do. Hi, Mo. Thank you for coming today. I just had a listen to the recording that Monica and Gary did about confronting reality. They just did that last week. And I loved what he said, that he wasn't trying to be a downer, but he was just confronting reality.
Right.
Can you speak to that as well?
Well, I think confronting reality is what keeps us stable. Well, it's one of the things that keeps us stable, because if we all sit here and say, oh, COVID's not real, and then our grandparents who are my age, get sick and die, the reality is COVID is real, and it's all over the world. Fortunately, young people, don't react to it like people like me who are 83 years old and have underlying problems. So we have to admit that these things are real. And I loved it when an agent from Oklahoma wrote Gary a letter and said, I am so honored to have been chosen to serve on the Equality Committee of my market center. But she said, everything I'm getting has to do with helping Black people. And she said, I thought we were an equality committee. Doesn't that mean that we would want to help Hispanics and help all different kinds of people? And he wrote her back. He sent me these letters. That's how I know about him. And he sent her a great answer. He said, yes, we have the big vision of equality. Equality is white people, black people, orange people, gray people, brown people, yellow people, Asian people, it's everybody. He said, we've got the big picture, but we've had a situation that's kind of a moment that we need to take advantage of. So we need to work hard with our Black community. And I thought that was a really beautiful answer because, see, she was worried that it wasn't really equality when you just focus on one group, when there are lots of groups. And I just thought his response to her was really good because that's facing the reality of the situation. So did I help or hurt?
No, that was helpful. And he was addressing, what we perceive as the future and I guess the preparation for what's to come, or, we can't know for sure, but the reality.
We really don't know what's to come, but whatever trends we begin to see, we need to prepare for that. That's right. That's what's so wonderful about having Gary, the head of our company, because he's a true visionary. And what made Gary and me such a great team, because I think Gary would tell you that we did really good together, is he was the visionary and I was the implementer. I can get stuff done really fast. and I just left the vision to him, and I wanted to be the wind beneath my visionary's wings, if you know what I mean. So you've made a really good point. Thank you for that question. I'd love one more.
So
Hi, Mo, how are you?
Keep going.
Yes, ma'am. If you can give one advice to a new agent that's starting out, what would it be?
Okay, are you talking about a brand new agent?
Correct. Not new in sales, but brand new in real estate sales.
Right, brand new in real estate sales. And I recruit those people from time to time, and there are three things that I look at when I am recruiting them. One, I first tell them about the Y4C2Ts, and I tell them about God, family, and then business. And I explain to them how diverse we are and how exciting it is to have people with different ideas and different opinions, and how much I've learned by interacting with these people and all that. And if I don't see some excitement about the Y4C2Ts and God, family, then business, I know they're not a cultural match. And if I take them to the team leader, because it's Mo taking them, they always, hire them. So if I know there's an aversion to our culture, I don't even refer them. The second thing I check is, are they into technology? Because some people just have a mind for it. It's like their brain is designed to understand tech, and other people aren't as comfortable with tech. So if I decide I want to refer that person, I tell the team leader, I will only refer this person to you if you promise me that you will absolutely get them to hire an assistant who is super savvy in tech right away. That means you need to make sure they have the capital to put into their new little business that will be able to hire this assistant in tech. Now, I know that the tech person in the market center can help, but I'm talking about an assistant who really will learn our tech fast. The third thing that I look at and I interview them for is I find out if they have an aversion to lead generating. I explained to them that when they get in real estate, they really aren't in real estate. What they're in is a lead generation business. Oh, I hate to lead generate. I don't want to have to make those calls. I didn't know you had to do that in real estate. I thought the office gave everybody all their business. Then I tell them about when you teach a man to fish, he can make a living he can eat for life. You know, I go into that. And if I see that they have a total aversion to lead generation, I will not give them to the team leader. I want them to go to another office to fail.
So a new agent coming into the business, the new agent coming into the business should be, you know, somebody who's in line with our culture and really buy into our culture and understand that we are a family and that we work together. And then the second thing is they, oh my gosh.
Where are they in technology?
Technology. They need to be able to adapt or be able to use that resource. So if you're not a technology person, let's make sure we're talking about how do we make you a tech person or get somebody to help you. And then the third item would be not being afraid of lead generation. Let's not be a secret agent, right? We need to lead generate and talk to our database, our communities, our farms, our business to business connections. That is the heart of what a new agent has to do, right?
Would y'all let me tell you one more story and then I promise I'll quit. I'm 7 minutes over. I'm so sorry. Can I tell one more?
You can tell one more. We love having you, Mo. We really appreciate you.
Okay. Years ago when I was CEO, I went to Houston to help some team leaders in the area of recruiting. So I had them all come to one office. At 3 o'clock, she had a man coming in. And I said, let me do the talking part so that you can see what you can learn from me. So the man came in and he was brand new. He was 50 years old. He was brand new to real estate. So before I even took him to sit down, I said to him, I am so excited to meet with you today. I'm the one that gets to ask you the magical question. And I paused and, you know, he was going, what the heck is the magical question? And then I said, we have room for one new person. And you have room for one new person at a time. Understand me? I said, this meeting could be short or this meeting could be long. I don't know which it will be, but we are so thrilled to get to meet you. Now, I do have some people in here who want to watch me visit with you. So are you okay with that? He said, yes. So I took him in, gave him his coffee, and I leaned over and I said, now I'm going to ask you the magical question. What have you done since high school or college that you are so proud of? And don't you hold back on me. I want to know every single thing. And he sat there and he went like this and he went like this. And he kept saying to himself, what have I done? What have I done? Well, I can only stand 45 seconds of silence. And I always wear a watch when I recruit that has a second hand on it. So when 45 seconds went by, I grabbed his hand and I said, you know, it has been really great meeting you. If I decide I want to talk to you again, I will call you. And I led him to the door and I had him out of there in less than 7 minutes. Now, why in the world would I want to spend an hour with a person who cannot tell me one thing they've done they're proud of? Are you with me? So I asked the team leaders, what did you learn from this? Well, they had a lot of ahas from that 5 minutes. At 4 o'clock, this team leader had a woman coming in. She comes to the door, you know, I'm the one that gets to ask you the magical question. I want you to know this could be a long meeting, this could be a short meeting, I'm not sure which it will be, blah, 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 blah. And is that okay with you? And she said yes. We sat her down, we gave her her coffee or Coke or whatever it was. And I said, tell me, what have you done since high school or college that you are proud of? She was sitting back in her chair, and when I asked her that question, she leaned forward and she said, let me tell you, in college I was president of my sorority. I want you to know that I organized the spring sing. And she rattled on, and then she said, I married my husband, I moved to Houston, and I became president of such and such a club. I can't even remember what it was. I want you to know we won a contest and we got to go to the White House, and this is what we're going to do this year. And I am sitting there going, oh God, thank you, I've got me one. See, what I was looking for was a history of success, because studies have been done at Texas A&M that if you put a person in sales who does not have a history of success, they have a 95% chance of failing.
Yikes.
And I don't ever want to put anybody in a position where they're going to fail. And I mean, it was shocking to me, those statistics. And if they have a track record of success, they have like a 95% chance of succeeding. Well, they hired her. She capped in 4 months, and she ended up being that year the Rookie of the Year for Houston.
That's pretty
So
awesome.
I have agents who say to me, Mo, what about those housewives who've raised these fabulous children and who've been wonderful to help their husbands succeed in business? And here's what I say. I want you to know that being a great parent and being a great wife or a great husband is the greatest success that you can have in life. But I want you to lay that aside. And I want you to tell me, what has that housewife done outside the home? Maybe it is they organized the Girl Scout group so her daughter could be in Girl Scouts. Or maybe the mother was the president of the PTA, or maybe the mother organized or was president of the Homeowners Association. Are you with me? Because we're looking for two things. We're looking for initiative. It takes initiative to organize a homeowners association. It takes initiative to be president of the Parent Teachers Association. It takes initiative to be president of your sorority. It takes initiative to organize the spring sing. Are you with me? And it takes discipline. So if you get you a brand new real estate agent that has a track record of success after college or high school, and you can really tell they have had that they take initiative and they are absolutely disciplined, they're going to lead generate. And if they do that, they'll be successful.
That's awesome. Mo, I want to really thank you today for everything all your wisdom that you've given us. We appreciate you, and I mean, thank you for doing this for our Market Center.
Well, you're welcome, and I hope it's helped somebody some small way.
I know I definitely have gotten a lot from it, and I appreciate you again. Like I said, every time I've read, listened to you speak, and you've been great all along.
Well, here's a kiss goodbye. And I love you all, and I want the best for you, and you just keep knocking it out of the ballpark, okay?
Thank you, Mo. Thank
Okay.
you.
If you ever want to do this again, just call Kelly.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
Mo.
Thank you, Mo.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Take care.